Now, millennials, those are people aged 23 to 37. And Generation Z, those are people aged 7 to 22. You put those two generations together, and they make up 37% of the electorate in 2020. That's a vast chunk of the electorate. And guess what? We are told they lean socialist. And I want to know why. Cabot Phillips is with us, Campus Reform Editor-in-Chief, and Emma Michel, Young Americans for Liberty, both of them with me. I'm going to ask them both the same question to start with. Emma, you first. Why doesn't your generation, these youngsters, what have they got about the rich? Why don't they like the rich?
The big problem here is that they grew up in the aftermath of the 2008 recession. So they heard people like their parents and their loved ones blaming capitalism and blaming Wall Street and the ultra wealthy for the fact that they are facing lean Christmases and layoffs and a lot of things that were not fun. So they grew up with that ingrained in their brains, and then they took this reactionary stance where they want to be socialists. They want to push back on things and change the system. They see socialism as this Robin Hood mentality, right?
Yes.
Steal from the rich, give to the poor. What they don't realize is that the actual socialists in this situation are the tax collectors who are robbing good, hardworking people of their money.
So, Cabot, what have you youngsters got against the rich? Why this leaning towards socialism?
I think it starts with also a misunderstanding fundamentally of wealth. I think a lot of young people today believe that it's a zero-sum game. You only get rich by stealing from other people. You couldn't possibly do so by adding value. You cannot overlook either the role of higher education. You know this. I've been on over 100 campuses with Leadership Institute's Campus Forum. I've seen firsthand how capitalism is now a dirty word. It is in there with racism, with fascism. It's a dirty word to be a capitalist, and I do think that plays a role in it also. And the ironic thing here in all this is young people, we love Amazon, we love Starbucks, we love our iPhones. Those are all things that never would have happened if we had a social society. And we need to be doing more to incentivize people to emulate wealth, to emulate success and say, hey, provide something to society that's helping people. That's a good thing. You're going to get rich along the way. There's nothing wrong with that. You're helping people.
Okay, you both got very good explanations. I mean, I understand them both, and that's all good stuff. But isn't it true to say that all young people, all new up-and-coming generations lean to the left because they're idealistic? Isn't that true?
I think most of the time young people tend to, the majority of them lean that way.
Yes.
But not all of them. Some of them do believe
true.
in that capitalism. And when I was 16 years old, I started working as a barista at a coffee shop. And even though I wasn't the owner, I wasn't making all of the money. I was making minimum wage. I got skills. I got work experience, and I was able to climb and get really good things from that, even though I didn't own it.
But you were never a socialist.
But I was never a socialist. So you have to remember, there are people who think that it's a workers versus owners situation. That is the core of Marxism. What we need young people to understand is that capitalism benefits everyone on every rung of the ladder.
Well, Cabot, that was good. What can you match that?
Well, I agree. I also think...
Were you ever a socialist?
I was never a socialist. I probably would have been kicked out of my own house even as a 12-year-old if I had ever displayed. I actually was a socialist come Halloween season. I wanted my older brothers to give me some of the extra candy they got. But I also think another scary stat in all this when we're talking about polling data, 48% of millennials think the American dream is dead. They think that they cannot achieve wealth themselves. And so I think a lot of this is they view themselves as being locked out from the higher rings of society. One, that's not true, but that will become true if we start to embrace a lot of the policies that they want to put in place. The American dream will die if we start to embrace socialist policies in America.
Yeah, look, I think the American dream has to be explained better. It's not, the American dream is not make $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's not the dream. The dream is you come and you start here by hard work, brains, drive, and talent and ability. You climb the food chain. You're able to climb the food chain unfettered by government or society or class and all the rest of it. That's the American dream.
We need to get better at messaging also. It's up to us. I think a lot of conservatives and people that are supportive of capitalism, they always focus on the data and the statistics. Those are good things. We should absolutely focus on those. They also need to get better at storytelling, telling impactful stories of why it's a helpful thing to people and what it does in the real world. I think a lot of times we kind of cede the emotional side. We cede the storytelling side to the people on their side, and then they can say, here is the emotional benefit of these policies.
Impactful is not a word, so let me turn to Emma. Now, if the vote were held today, I don't think you would argue with me that 37% of the electorate, millennials and the Z people, they would vote left.
They absolutely would.
50-60% of them would vote for Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders.
Yes, if they all turned up to vote. That's the big question mark here. They're not very good at showing up to vote. I think that a lot of them will. We saw a huge amount of that in 2016. Millennials really showed up. But we really have to be inspiring these people, to Cabot's point, in the American dream, in the fact that if they embrace free markets and embrace capitalism as something that can help them and help other people, help people rise out of poverty, we're going to see a prosperous, happy America. If we lean towards socialism, the things that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren want, we're not going to have that option. That's the real takeaway here.
I want to piggyback on that. We need to be realistic about when capitalism does sometimes go too far. And when you have crony capitalism, that's what a lot of young people see, and they associate crony capitalism of these big businesses paying off politicians, getting legislation that benefits them directly. That's not a real free market. That's not free enterprise. That's not capitalism. That's cronyism. And I think a lot of young people see that. They see that corruption, and they think that's what all capitalism is. It's not. And we need to do a good job of weeding that out and separating that from capitalism as a whole and saying, we agree, that's wrong. That's not what we're about.
Emma, have you never gone through a period of socialism?
I never have personally.
Never?
Nope.
Never? Not even close?
Nope, I'm proud to say it. I've considered myself a libertarian, which I think people tend to go in these two extremes in Generation Z. They either want to be totally freedom, everyone do what you want, I'm not going to get in your way, make that money, or you go complete socialist and you want the government to run every aspect of your life. And I think that there actually is an opportunity here for us to message to those socialists and say, hey, you want wide-reaching reform, you want things to be fairer for people, you're just looking at it the wrong way. That's what we need to be speaking to these people about.
That was very good.
More libertarian after that one.
Yeah, right. Almost a convert right here. Emma, and thanks very much, gentlemen, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Southpaw.